Welcome to the call. My name is Elise Gellerman, Senior Administrative Officer at the Neuroendocrine Tumor Research Foundation. Today's webinar is entitled, What You Need to Know to Apply for Neuroendocrine Tumor Research Foundation Funding. We are recording the call so that we can share it later. Today's webinar is for researchers and physicians who are interested in conducting basic, translational, or clinical research into neuroendocrine tumors. We'll review our latest call for applications and discuss how you can apply for a research grant. Our goal today is to share important background information to help you prepare your letter of intent. The webinar is 30 minutes long. We have a slide presentation to share with you, and then afterwards, we will summarize questions and answers in an FAQ document that will be available separately. Our presenter today is Dr. Effie Gemelli, Director of Research at the Neuroendocrine Tumor Research Foundation. Effie came to the NET Research Foundation from Cell Press, where she was editor-in-chief of the Reviews journal, Trends in Endocrinology and Metabolism, for more than 5 years. Prior to that, Effie was junior faculty at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical School and Harvard Medical School. She has a PhD in molecular biology from Boston University School of Medicine. And now, Effie.
Thank you for the introduction, Elise. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are glad that you joined us today to learn about our grant opportunities. So what I'd like to do is to first give you a brief overview of the NET Research Foundation and then talk about the specifics regarding funding. So for those of you that are not familiar or have not heard of the Neuroendocrine Tumor Research Foundation, we were established in 2005, about 12 years ago, by a patient. Over the years, we have grown, and we are now considered to be the leading foundation to offer grants in basic, translational, and clinical NET research. At the core of our mission is our patients, and we are committed to funding research that will help create new and more effective therapies for them. We are also committed to improving the lives of NET patients, their families, and caregivers by providing information and educational resources. We do that by running 4 patient education conferences a year, and this is where researchers and clinicians can come and present the latest information on research and different treatment options. The foundation is governed by a board of directors, and we have a scientific advisory board comprised of leaders in the cancer field. So our approach to funding is that we look for and fund projects with the most potential to transform our understanding of NETs. To date, we have awarded over $18 million that have gone to fund large-scale, multi-year research grants. Our grantees are leaders in the field, and they reside at top research institutes, universities, hospitals, and cancer centers here in the US and abroad. We have a rigorous peer review process in place, and we use external expert reviewers in addition to our scientific advisory board. We also have a strong commitment to collaboration and have formed many partnerships with other foundations and like-minded organizations such as AACR and NANETS, and what we do is we sponsor annual grants through them. This is actually in addition to our own annual call for applications. Our portfolio is diverse and includes basic, translational, and clinical research projects. As you probably know really well, NETs are a group of highly heterogeneous cancers that come from different types of neuroendocrine cells in the body. So a pancreatic NET would be fundamentally different from a GI NET or from a lung NET. These cancers, unfortunately, are often diagnosed too late and after the tumor has metastasized, that making basically the prognosis grim. We don't know much about the molecular pathogenesis of NETs, and therapeutic management is challenging. To date, we do have only a handful of somatic mutations identified, so we really have a very incomplete understanding of the genetic alterations in NETs. The other problem in this area is that we don't have reliable cell lines or useful animal models and this is of course a serious roadblock in terms of research. So while we have made significant progress over the past 10 years or so, we still have a lot to learn. And our goal as a foundation is to accelerate scientific discovery and also to invite more investigators to study neuroendocrine cancers. We just released this year's RFA, and we are inviting proposals in basic translational or clinical research. We are looking for investigators and for teams of investigators to study NETs in innovative ways. We welcome collaborative projects that bring together investigators from diverse scientific disciplines. So apart from the basic translational or clinical, we also invite people with expertise in biotechnology, bioinformatics, nanotechnology, or other relevant disciplines. We also look for proposals that cover potentially transferable technologies, things that have actually been used successfully in other areas of cancer research. And these proposals will be evaluated based on their level of applicability to NETs. You don't really have to have prior research experience specifically in neuroendocrine cancers. And in fact, we wish to encourage expert cancer research from other fields to enter this particular field. However, we do expect our applicants to demonstrate a plan for continuing the research in NETs beyond the award period. With regards to eligibility, applicants must have a PhD, MD, MD-PhD or equivalent, and they need to have a faculty appointment. This is assistant professor and above. In terms of eligible institutions, these would be cancer centers, research institutions, universities, medical centers, teaching hospitals, etc. People that are not eligible are those that actually work in the biotech or pharma industry. And we, of course, welcome international applicants. So this year, we offer 3 types of grants, and we invite interested applicants to submit a competitive letter of intent. So we expect to fund at least 1 accelerator, at least 1 Peterson investigator, and a few pilot project awards. The accelerator awards are the big awards we give each year, and these are for projects that are significant and large and need about 4 years to be completed. The amount that the applicant may request for the accelerator awards may not exceed $1.2 million. The Peterson Investigator Awards are smaller. They are projects that can be completed within 2 years, and the maximum we can offer for these is $300,000. The pilot projects is early stage exploratory projects that can be completed in 1 year, and you can request anything from $50,000 to $100,000. What, of course, determines which category somebody wants to apply to depends on the scope of the project, the number of specific aims, the duration, budget, and this is something that all applicants need to think carefully when they are writing their letter of intent. So for those that work in the United States and do research here, if I can make a comparison, I would say that the accelerator awards are more or less equivalent to an R01. The Peterson Awards are more or less equivalent to an R21, and the pilot projects are these proof of concept pilot and feasibility type studies. Applicants may propose to do research on any type of NET, and the project can be basic, translational, or clinical. In the next 2 slides, I have examples of some of the awards that we awarded this year, and I hope that you will be able to understand the magnitude of the different projects and the difference between these 3 categories. On this slide, I have examples of 2 accelerator grants. The first one, the investigators want to model neuroendocrine tumors using adult stem cell-derived organoids. They want to establish and characterize a living biobank of organoids from carcinoid and pancreatic NETs. They will then engineer cells within these cultures to model tumorigenesis, and they will perform genetic, epigenetic, and drug sensitivity assays. The second project is entitled Epigenetic Regulators of Intestinal Endocrine Cells and Carcinoid Tumors, and here the investigators will want to identify transcriptional and epigenetic factors that are dysregulated in human carcinoids. They want to characterize the native enteroendocrine cells in the intestinal crypts in mice. And what they want to do here is actually to find the cell of origin of the carcinoid tumor. And they also want to do gain and loss of function analysis to understand the key determinants of how these cells proliferate. Here I have examples of a Peterson Award and a pilot. For the Peterson Investigator Award, the scientists want to understand how the complex of ATRX and DAX is recruited to target regions on chromatin. And they also want to determine how ATRX, DAX, and H3.3 mediate chromatin dysregulation in pancreatic NETs. The pilot project is focusing on liquid biopsy, and they want to study the genetic evolution of PANETs over time and through therapy using cell-free DNA. So the objectives are first to detect and quantify cell-free DNA in the blood of patients, and then try to determine the concordance rate between the genomic spectrums of PANETs via next-generation sequencing performed on tissue DNA or on cell-free DNA. So as I said, we are interested in all areas of NET research and all types of NETs, and but we do continue to have an interest in some areas that I have outlined here. For example, we do have an interest in the molecular underpinnings of NETs and in studies that try to understand the basic mechanisms that drive initiation and progression of these cancers. This can include application of existing or new technologies to target NETs, drug delivery to specific targets in vivo, nanodelivery, work with patient-derived xenografts, chemotherapy resistance, and other. The immune microenvironment, of course, is an area of interest. Studies can try to understand what is the difference between cold NETs versus hot NETs. They may propose to reprogram the tumor metabolic pathways in an effort to improve immune response. Novel or existing immunotherapies that may be transferable to NETs is another area, and this may include also applications proposing immunoengineering and nanotherapy type studies to reprogram and leverage the immune system. Clinical research is, of course, a main focus of us. This could be clinical and correlative studies that may build upon existing trials, proof of concept phase 1 trials, adaptive studies, combination therapies, and sequencing of therapies. Then we have nuclear medicine, theranostics, and imaging, such as evaluation of imaging agents, image-guided surgery or therapies, predictive prognostic markers, new approaches to the early diagnosis of NETs, etc. In terms of metastasis, we might be looking for drivers of metastasis, anti-metastasis targets, small non-coding RNAs, adhesion molecules, EMT, epigenetic modifier, and stem cells, metastasis-initiating stem cells. Biomarkers may be studies to look into prognostic diagnostic biomarkers or metastasis biomarkers, and of course models, which may include PDXs, cell lines, mouse models, organoids, or other things. If your particular area of research is not listed here, this doesn't mean that you cannot apply. We are truly interested in getting all ideas that will impact on our understanding and treatment of these cancers. So as I mentioned, the first step to applying for these grants is to send a letter of intent. So you don't really have to sit down and write a full proposal, but only an outline of the work you would like to do. This will also help us identify projects with the greatest scientific potential. Your letter of intent needs to provide a clear and concise overview of the project's objectives and significance, and needs to include an abstract, a summary statement, literature, key references, your CV, collaboration letters if applicable, and letters of institutional commitment. For the Accelerator and the Peterson Awards, the letter of intent may not exceed 2 pages. And when I say 2 pages, I mean specifically the research summary statement. And that would basically include your background, specific aims, rationale, study design, novelty, plans for access to any necessary patient tumor samples, if this is applicable, and potential for translational application and patient benefit. For those LOIs, references may not exceed 2 pages. For the pilot award, this is the small one, your project summary statement may not exceed 1 page, and your key references may not exceed 1 page also. The letters of intent will be reviewed by our scientific advisors, and investigators with the most promising ideas will be invited to submit full applications. How to submit your application is very, very easy. You collect your cover page, collaboration letters, letter of institutional commitment together with your proposal. You combine everything in one master PDF, and you can email it to my attention by September 5th. We will get back to all the applicants and notify them whether or not they are invited to submit a full proposal by September 15th. And for all relevant information, as well as formatting instructions, detailed submission instructions, and to download the cover signature pages, please go on our website at the Grants Opportunity page. So as I mentioned, a limited number of applicants will be invited to submit a grant, and grants follow NIH format and will be evaluated based on 5 criteria. These are significance. Are you asking the right question? Is it significant, and why? How it will change our understanding of a cellular pathway, treatment, etc. Approach. Are you using the correct method? Is the approach even feasible? Innovation. What is the degree of innovation in your proposal? Are you doing something new, creating a new technique? Investigators, the PIs, of course, need to have demonstrated through publications that they have expertise in the area they want to do research in, or at least they have very close collaborators with proven expertise in the area that they lack. And of course, environment. This has to do with where they work, the place, if they have access to equipment, technology, do they have institutional support. The main body of these applications for the Accelerator Award may not exceed 8 pages, and that excludes any appendices. For the Peterson Award, may not exceed 4 pages, and for the Pilot Award, may not exceed 2. When I say the main body of the application, I mean, again, NIH style, something that will include your hypothesis and specific aims, your research strategy, preliminary studies, etc. You, in order to send in your application, you simply combine everything in a master PDF and you email it to my attention by October 31st. So the grants will be reviewed by external expert reviewers and by our scientific advisors. Any advisors that have any indirect or direct conflict of interest, of course, will be recused. A confidentiality and conflict of interest statement will be signed by each reviewer, and as an applicant, you may wish to make reasonable requests to oppose reviewers, explaining, of course, the nature of the conflict of interest. At the end, it's the board of directors of the NET Research Foundation that will select the grant recipients, and this will be based on the recommendations of the Scientific Advisory Board, the impact of the research on the mission of the foundation, and the funds available. So we have certain expectations for our grantees, and I have listed here all our post-award expectations. All NETRF grantees are expected to submit detailed progress reports where they summarize their accomplishments and how they use the funds every 6 months and for the duration of the grant. This is pretty important because funding will be contingent upon review of progress and achievement of any relevant milestones. All our grantees are required to attend and present at the annual symposium we do every year. This is a symposium that takes place in Boston in the spring of each year. Any unique research resources that have been created with NETRF funds must be readily available to the scientific community after publication. And finally, NETRF grantees need to acknowledge the foundation as a funding source during relevant meeting presentations and on published articles. And we as a foundation really want to encourage our grantees to continue research on neuroendocrine cancers. So in my last slide, I just have some deadlines for you to remember. As I said, The letter of intent deadline is September 5th. The full proposal is due October 31st, and the awards will be announced on January 2018. I would like to thank you for joining us and for your attention, and we look forward to receiving your ideas.
Thank you, Effie. We're grateful for the support of our funders, especially the Margie and Robert E. Peterson Foundation, for making our grants possible. If you have any additional questions about your application for funding, please feel free to contact Effie directly at the email address that she displayed for you on the screen. The slides are available to you to refer to during the application process. And as the final reminder, the deadline to submit a letter of intent is September 5th. Thank you for your attention.